Okay, this is the artifact for SPED 854. This was the philosophy of collaboration, and it came in two parts. One we wrote after the first week of the course, and the second part we wrote at the very end of the course. So I think the purpose was twofold. For one, we had the opportunity to show our growth that we had achieved throughout the course, and the other part is that I think it's a way for the course itself to make sure that we're bridging the gap between theory and practice so that we take the material that we learn about in the course and make sure that we're actively applying it in our daily teaching and to be able to put into words more concretely. So we not only went from theory to practice, but we went from abstract to concrete. The assignment was guided by 7 questions, and I'll just go through those very quickly. It highlights why collaboration should be part of special education, why is it important, who are the key players involved, what factors must be in place to ensure successful collaboration, what are the potential barriers to successful collaboration, what are the different ways to collaborate, what are the important time points in a student's education in which collaboration should occur, and in what ways do culture and power affect collaboration in special education? So let's start with this. I revised it from part 1 to part 2, from the beginning of the course to the end of the course. I revised it in just a couple of ways. I realized I had a firm grasp on the key players of collaboration, and everything else grew. I was able to word things much more concisely and cogently. So while the paper itself expanded, many of the parts within the paper actually got shorter. And so I decreased the space of much of it and then filled that space back up with a lot of information that I had learned and found myself to be practicing. When I revised that second one, the second philosophy of collaboration that we did at the very end of the course, I really only looked through it and made some light changes to word choice because the professor's feedback was very positive. And so, some things that I've learned from the project, looking back on it, I realized I came into the course with a firm belief in collaboration, but that was definitely reinforced by a concept we talked about early on in the course. The difference or the dissonance between the fact that we push for inclusionary measures for our students, but we largely still accept an isolationist model for ourselves as teachers. And with that in mind, we were able to put a lot of the information from the course into immediate use. I remember being really struck by Andrew Solomon's book, Far from the Tree. And I just had instantly this feeling of being inspired and empowered. The book and that text was very rehumanizing. And that the transfer could be made to the fact that sometimes we look at teaching as this surgical procedure and we want to do it our way. But I think we know that the benefits of collaboration are absolutely necessary. Some other things I absolutely loved were starting to learn about the facets of identity. We learned about from Far From the Tree those in terms of disability and what we might consider disability, someone with that disability just might perceive as part of their identity. We talked about the various facets of culture and how those interplay or how that affects the way that we should speak to people. That later on in a course we called it openness to the other. And this course introduced that concept, though it didn't give it that name. We talked about implications for behavior and understanding behavior, and those are laid out a little more in detail in the written reflection if you want to check that part out. But I wrote that it not only increased effectiveness in sharing information, but it increased, or it made for better teaching. In other words, without collaboration, that great teaching isn't even possible. And I made a tie in, or will tie that into the curriculum and instruction course in a later reflection for that course. And that last sentence I wrote, though it may seem silly, collaboration is one of the most powerful tools we have in the pursuit of a long, happy, and successful career in education. And I believed that at the end of that course and still believe it, although I would like to expand it a little bit now in saying that, of course, collaboration is important for any profession, any career, and not just in terms of pursuing a happy and successful career, but a happy and successful life as well.